Anora kinda gives us the carcass of a Cinderella story. The bones are familiar. A poor girl meets a rich guy, and for a moment it seems like her life might transform into a dream. But instead of a glass slipper and a castle, Annie gets a fake proposal, a temporary contract, and a front row seat to how power really works in America. The film opens with Annie, a stripper from Brooklyn who dances her way through a system where performance is survival. She's charming, shrewd, and always negotiating, even when it looks like she's giving in. So when she meets Vanya, a reckless Russian heir, she sees an opportunity. At first, it's business, but business blurs into fantasy really fast. They speak different languages, literally and emotionally, but the tension between them is electric. And when he offers her a week-long girlfriend contract for $15,000, Annie says yes, not just to the money, but the possibility of more. They jet to Vegas, they get married, he wants a green card, she wants a new life. But what follows, obviously, isn't a honeymoon. Vanya's rich parents descend like vultures, determined to undo the marriage and erase Annie as quickly as she appeared. Suddenly, the fairy tale castle is booby-trapped, and Annie, who was never naive, is still shocked by just how disposable she is in this world. What Anora does effectively is peel back the glossy fantasy so many Cinderella stories cling to. It doesn't mock Annie for hoping, nor does it scold her for dreaming. Instead, it asks us why that dream, why being saved by someone richer, more powerful, was ever sold to her in the first place. She understands that Annie doesn't really believe in the prince. She believes in escape. But escape is complicated, especially when you're a woman whose job revolves around pretending you're already in control. Because Annie knows how to make men feel wanted, powerful, and special. That's her hustle. But it's also a trap. The more she performs the fantasy, the more she's expected to live inside it, and the more invisible her real self becomes. Anora is in conversation with films like Pretty Woman, but it's also pushing back on them. It's not interested in whether a rich guy can love the sex worker. It's more interested in what the story says about who deserves a happy ending. In Pretty Woman, the fantasy ends with love and security, and in Anora, it ends with abandonment and clarity. When Vanya's goons arrive, Annie is left alone to fend for herself. The moment is violent, absurd, and played for laughs, but it doesn't feel funny. The film's final beat doesn't reunite Annie with Vanya. It pairs her with Igor, one of the henchmen. Both are tools of wealth. He enforces it with violence, she navigates it with charm. But where he breaks others, she breaks herself. And they recognize each other. The quiet acknowledgement that even in different uniforms, they're still serving the same machine. Some critics have called Anora a love story, but it's not. It's a story about being in love with the idea of love and how dangerous that can be when the world doesn't love you back. And it doesn't end up with a prince or even a clear path forward, but she does end up with her eyes wide open. And maybe that's the most subversive thing of all, because the real Cinderella story was never about being saved. It was about surviving long enough to save yourself. Subscribe.